Each and every Thursday, sportsmemo.com goes back in time and you can get daily pick packages priced for only $5. And yes, for those wondering, that includes any 5% best bets normally priced at $30. This is the real Throwback Thursday. As an added bonus, all first-time customers will be credited $25 in wager bucks after those initial $5 purchases. So each and every Thursday, make sure you go to sportsmemo.com, get your favorite capper's best bet for only $5.
All right, guys, here we go. It is time for another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show, of course, powered by WagerTalk.com. Great card on tap here tonight in college hoops. We've got 4 games, of course, we are going to talk about and cover for you. We're going to talk a little ACC and go Va-Tech taking on Pitt. We're going to talk Seton Hall. Can they stop the bleeding taking on Providence? LSU taking on Alabama. And we got a little VCU Rhode Island with some dude named Fats. So we're going to go ahead, break those games down for you. We'll have our best bets. And, of course, we'll have our friends from the Gold Sheet stop by and give us a play of the day from then. But let's meet your esteemed panel of handicappers here today. And what a crew this is. Guys, welcome back Tony Mejia to the crew. Welcome back, Tony. Always good to see you. Dave Koken returns after having a little nice day off, continuing to just dominate. More on that in just a second. And my neighbor downstairs, Ralph, has the day off here, so Matt Josephs of sportsmemo.com steps in. Take a look at the Twitter handles here, guys. This is how you can reach them. At Mejia Dinero for Tony, at Dave Koken, of course, for Dave, and Mid-Major Matt, at Mid-Major Matt for Matt Joseph. So loaded here today with this card. It's not a big card, but there are some very intriguing matchups across the board here. Tony, welcome back, my friend. Good to see you. How'd it go last night, and what do you got going on today at Wager Talk?
That's for this show, and one of my top plays for the day lost in heartbreaking fashion, which seems to happen to me over and over again this season. It was the Marquette minus 3.5 in a game that they completely dominated against Butler, and then just let the air out of the tire too quickly. I mean, it was Steve Wojciechowski's offense decided it was more important to burn clock than actually go into an offense when they were scoring easily, and they left the door open. Butler pressed and ended up with the cover, losing by only 3. So heartbreaking there. Ended up for the day, so that's good. But some surprising results. Didn't expect Auburn to lose at Georgia. So you got to roll with the punches. In February, all these kids got to wake up. March is right around the corner.
A lot of truth to that. You gotta love college hoops right now as we begin the month of February, and you gotta love Dave Koken back, guys, continuing to dominate. We are talking a 30-11 record on 4% and 5% plays here. Absolutely on fire, including last time we saw you only the second 5% play in the NHL the other night, Dave. That cashes. Congratulations, my friend. You are rolling. What do you got up today at Wager Talk?
It was actually the first NHL 5-star this season. The other one was out of the bubble in last season's playoffs. The 5% have been just unbelievable. I'm even stunned at the record myself, but I'll take it. So Sunday was good with 2-0 in hoops. Monday was 2-0 in the NHL, including the 5%. Only played one game yesterday, won it by a hook on Kent State, despite the fact that they have lost a key player for the rest of the season, Nuga, who's their best shooter. He's done for the year. That's a big loss for Kent State, but the game got there. Today I've got a 4% best bet. In college, I've got an extra 3% play and a 3% free play that is up right now, and I'll talk about that one on the show when we get to the best bets, because I'm going to use that game on the show today. So hopefully we'll keep it going.
Love it. All right, guys, WagerTalk.com for both Tony Mejia and Dave Koken. SportsMemo.com in the house. Matt Josephs, Mid-Major Matt, good to see you, my friend. Hell of a college run you're on here. I believe 20-8. You are just you're destroying it in college. Love it, man. What's been going on? What do you got going on at SportsMemo.com right now?
Yeah, one basket away from a 4-0 day yesterday. I had the over in the Akron-Toledo game, and I'm sure we'll talk about when we do look at yesterday. Toledo's one of the hottest offenses in America right now. They put up over 90 in a win over Akron. I had the first half over for for Iowa. Iowa's offense was really good yesterday, and then I had the team total over for Auburn. And even in a loss, they still managed to put up 86 points. So those were winners, and I missed by a bucket on the first half over on Ohio Central Michigan. So 3-1 got a 4-pack up of games for tonight. And, of course, also the Super Bowl props got 5 of those up as we continue to add them and get closer to the game on Sunday.
Yep, big week here across the board at both Wager Talk and SportsMemo.com. We're going to get to our first game, Virginia Tech Pittsburgh, in just a minute here, guys. But like we do, let's take a look, of course, some of the top performers, some of the covers from yesterday, some of the best. And you mentioned Toledo-Akron there, mid-major, Matt. It was also Morgan State you and I were talking about, Coppin State. Ralph had hopped on Coppin State there, but Morgan State, I don't know, like you said, I don't know if they could have made that total high enough there, Matt.
Yeah, Morgan State's got a very good offense in that conference. There's a ton of teams that are that like to run. Just to put some perspective, so Toledo lost that game to Akron back on January 16th, 95-94 in overtime. So they scored 94 then. Then they put up 89, 76, 90, 84, and 91. They've got Ball State on Saturday. Could crack the 80 mark in that game as well. So the Rockets are really hot right now in college basketball.
Love it. Best bets, by the way, yesterday wasn't a great day. We did have one of the games there. I do believe that we hit with USC on the show there yesterday. So now 21-7-1 run, and we look forward to continuing and getting that back going. And one of the covers yesterday too, some of the biggest covers on the card yesterday was interesting. You had heard. Tony mentioned Georgia. Auburn did not necessarily see that coming. Notre Dame also taking it to Wake Forest. And Dave, I don't know if you Clemson North Carolina game was very strange. Clemson got a lot of money at points yesterday, and nobody seemed to know why. I guess we know why now. Still a tough team to back though at this point.
Yeah, look, their offense is hit and miss. Meanwhile, North Carolina just continues to be a team that's better in terms of reputation than reality. They're okay. I mean, they're not a bad team, but they're just nothing special.
No, they are not for sure. And let's take a look at some of those totals from yesterday, both overs and unders across the board. And, we mentioned, of course, the Morgan State situation there with the total over. That Mississippi-Tennessee game, Tony, first one to 50, who would have thunk it? You know what I mean? It was, what a crazy, crazy game. Both teams played great defense. Offense was atrocious in that game.
Yeah, and you know what? I was kicking myself when I saw it because I pulled the trigger on Tennessee. I said, I want to see Mississippi do this if they're going to. I'll lay the points. And I looked at the total and saw the 125. And I said, well, that looks really low. It's probably too low. But normally I go in on those. And would have cashed easily because they barely topped 100 combined. But yeah, it was one of those grinder games. Vols are going to play a lot of that, but they'll play themselves out of them too.
Yep, absolutely.
Go ahead. I'll just jump in on Tennessee for a moment because they're one of the best defensive teams in the country. When their offense is good, they're a team that's Elite Eight potential. The problem is there's just too many nights where they have no flow in their offense, can't make shots from anywhere, don't really get much motion going. I think they're a team that probably could be really ripe to get knocked off pretty early in the NCAA tournament. It's just a bad offense.
Yeah, great deal. And your defense can only take you so far. At some point, they got to be able to put the ball in the basket, guys, for sure. We are going to start, of course, with Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh. Do want to remind you guys, though, before we get there, that you got 3 days, 7 days, 30-day packages right now available for you at both WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. You can grab a 30-day package right now for mid-major Matt at Sports Memo. And, of course, Tony and Dave, 3 days, 7 days. It is a huge week, of course, with the big game on Sunday. Great opportunity for you guys to hop on an all-access pass with both Tony, Dave, and, of course, mid-major Matt at SportsMemo.com. Take advantage, guys. Get over there now. Lock it in. Never miss a play. Let's take a look at this Va-Tech Pittsburgh game here tonight. Pittsburgh looking to snap a 3-game losing streak. They're welcoming in Virginia Tech, who, wow, impressive double-digit win over Virginia there over the weekend. The number opened up at small there, 2.5. The total also opened up at 135.5. So, Dave, it was an impressive win with Vatech over the weekend. Can they keep it rolling, do you think?
Well, the market thinks so because it's up to 4. And I can't disagree with it. You know, when you think ACC, you think of the Blue Bloods, Virginia, Duke, North Carolina. But Virginia Tech's only a half game out of first now after beating Virginia, and they've got the tiebreaker with Virginia. So there's a real shot they could be the number one team, number one seed for the ACC tournament. They're good. They've had a couple of games, early game against Penn State where they just had a horrible game, but the non-conference stuff really doesn't matter at this point. And they had one bad game at Syracuse. It wasn't a particularly good spot for them, and they had a bad game. And outside of that, they got a 2-point loss at Louisville, and that's it. They're just legit. And I think for whatever reason, they're still under the public radar. You know, the talking heads on TV, they're not really talking much about this basketball team. The market's picking up on them, though, and they're betting them confidently today. I don't see why I can't really go against that thought. Pittsburgh can't shoot the basketball. I mean, they've got some good points on the team, but it looked like they were coming together, and then they weren't. It's as simple as that. And they've gone down in 3 straight games now. I looked high. It's one of those games where I looked at it and said, well, this line's gone to 4. Can I find a reason to take what appears to be value, at least in terms of where it opened to where it is now on the Panthers? And I can't do it. I think Virginia Tech gets them.
Listen, Tony, there's no doubt. I mean, Pittsburgh looked awful against Notre Dame over the weekend. The problem with them, they started off great, 4-1 in conference play, but it's not been a good stretch here, mostly because they can't get their offense going with Champaign. How do you see this going tonight here with Vatech coming in?
Yeah, I mean, look, Virginia Tech opened eyes with a 19-0 run. I think that a lot of that is where this money is coming in, maybe banking on Virginia Tech really hitting its stride. They had that adjustment period with Tyrese Bradford getting suspended. I don't think he'll be coming back considering his charges. So they're going to have to press on without him. And I thought Virginia would handle business as a result. I really like Bradford's fight, and he was one of their more talented guards. So it definitely surprised me that they handled Virginia the way they did, especially being down in the second half. So they are resilient. I mean, I like Pittsburgh probably more than most. It definitely has been a case of Justin Champagny not getting enough help. Audis Toney and Xavier Johnson have been held in single digits in scoring through this losing streak that they're on right now. Maybe they get it going at home tonight. I think Jeff Capel warns his team, look, we can spiral out of control pretty quickly. 1-9 in February and beyond in 2019, 2-8 last season. So this is about stopping the bleeding. I'm probably not going to touch this game, but if I did, from a self-preservation standpoint, might take the points with Pittsburgh value-wise.
Yeah, listen, Virginia Tech can play some defense too, Matt. You know that in your neck of the woods here. Do you like them in this spot on the road after that, coming off that victory against Virginia?
The one worry is that they are coming off the big home rivalry victory against Virginia. I mean, there's a bit of a worry of a look ahead, but I really like Mike Young as a head coach, and everybody's right. I mean, they don't get enough love nationally. I mean, the defense that they play travels. You look at some of their defensive efforts, 51 at Notre Dame, 60 at Wake Forest. So this team knows how to play some defense and can travel with it. And I actually think that there might be some value on the team total under for Pittsburgh in this game. I mean, the Panthers scored 58 against a really bad Notre Dame defense. I mean, they don't even play defense. I don't even know what the heck they do. They use a zone. It's not even very good. They scored 65 on North Carolina. They scored 54 at home against Louisville. So I think Pittsburgh, once again, in a game that's probably not going to be very fast, you could see some value on the team total under for Pittsburgh tonight.
Yeah, I'm seeing that the total in the game, too, 133.5 opening. I'm seeing 135.5, 136 in some places as well. So interesting game there for sure. Get ready for that tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time for that start. And let's take a look here, guys, at another very interesting game. Big East, Seton Hall taking on Providence. And Seton Hall, what a stretch this has been. I mean, I can't say they're on a 3-game skid, but 2 of those 3 games in the hands of Villanova, and they almost won both of those there. Providence, they've dropped 2 of their last 3. I don't know what the hell that was against Georgetown on Saturday. Thanks so much, Providence. Mid-major Matt, I'm going to start with you, my friend, because you and I were actually doing a show on Saturday where we were looking at that game, and Providence first half was great. Georgetown just surprised everybody. Do you like Seton Hall or Providence in this matchup tonight?
It's hard to trust either of these two teams. You go back to that overtime matchup at the Prudential Center earlier in December, and you look and you say, okay, Jared Bynum only had 9 points in that game. So, we don't know about the status of Jared Bynum. Even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. You've got a Providence team that had a lead on Georgetown, a Georgetown team that hadn't played in forever, and then Georgetown comes back and wins. But then you got a Seton Hall team that's lost 4 of their last 5, and the game even they won, they didn't look great against DePaul. So it's an easy pass for me. I can't trust either of these two teams. For a matchup like this, I'd lean to the home squad, but I can't trust either of these teams right now.
And, Dave, do you like Seton Hall to bounce back? Yeah, I mean, it's a tough 3-game stretch, but they played well.
Yeah, by the way, thanks for putting both Rhode Island schools on the show today. A little tribute to my native state, the Ocean State. We'll talk about URI in a little bit. The Friars are not the same team without Bynum. It's not that he's the best player on the team. He's not. But the problem is that if he's not playing, it really puts a ton of pressure on David Duke, who is the best player on the team, to do too much. They're better off when Bynum is on the floor and able to run the point and let Duke operate at somewhat of a ball handler, but more of a shooter. They're just not the same team without Bynum, and they've really struggled without him. They did have a win against Creighton. They had an overtime win against Marquette. I wouldn't classify the Marquette win as anything impressive because Marquette really isn't very good. I don't trust them. The spot screams Seton Hall to me. There are 3 straight losses. They've got revenge from the overtime loss to the Friars back in December. I think you got to look at Seton Hall. Unfortunately, the number has it's moved.
Yeah.
And you could have had this game at Pick'em. Now you have to lay 2.5. So at this point, even if you think Seton Hall's the right side, you really are not supposed to play it at -2.5. Don't give yourself the worst of it on purpose.
Yeah. Total still holding strong there, Tony Mejia, at 142.5. But, Matt made the point. I don't know who to trust. Do you know who to trust?
Well, I trust both of them struggling. I mean, David Duke comes off a really tough 2 of 11 games. They had no business losing to Georgetown, and they did. And Sandro Mamukelashvili is 8 for 24 of his last 2 games. So he's slumping. The way that Providence runs tempo and really milks possessions, I think that favors the under. The fact that this number is at 141, now rising to 142, I say wait a little bit because people are going to look at the first encounter, the 80-77 overtime game, and immediately bet the over because this number looks too low. I would say bet the highest number under because, again, I think this is going to be a hard-fought game. Hopefully you get some long possessions down the stretch that come up empty. And again, these teams, neither of them are playing solid offensively. So, hopefully the weather outside the Dunkin' Donuts Center kind of factors in. Both teams open cold, and we catch the under on this. I won't touch the side either.
Yeah, like the total myself there. Guys, just a quick reminder, we're going to get to LSU, Alabama, and, of course, Rhode Island taking on VCU in a second. But all of these gentlemen, best bets are up and ready to rock and roll. Tony and Dave Koken at WagerTalk.com. Mid-major Matt Josephs at SportsMemo.com. It's a huge weekend, guys, of course, with the big game in Tampa on Sunday. Opportunity tonight, though, to cash in and make it a profitable night at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com with all 3 of these gentlemen. Let's travel to Alabama. Let's go to Tuscaloosa here, guys, taking on LSU. They'll be traveling to Tuscaloosa, taking on Alabama. Game opens up at 8 total. Shock, 162. What a high, how high there. Interesting Big 12 SEC challenge matchup for both of these teams over the weekend. And, Tony, I'm going to come back to you, my friend. Alabama had done pretty well up until that game against Oklahoma over the weekend. LSU, talk about not being who's showing up for LSU. How do you have this game tonight?
Yeah, it was an uncharacteristic performance from Alabama because they've looked so sure of themselves throughout conference play, and Oklahoma came in shorthanded. There were certainly possessions down the stretch where Alabama should have taken control of that game. They made a nice comeback to make it a game, but probably should not have lost. So I'm wondering if at home that's going to come to their benefit, considering LSU plays no defense and are so shorthanded and are shell-shocked from that disgusting meltdown against Texas Tech. So that's an issue for me if I wanted to take the points with LSU. From the total standpoint, it's a little too high as well. So this game might have priced itself out of my range.
Dave, we talked about that game on Monday. That was a epic meltdown there. Great win for Texas Tech, but wow, LSU. Now you got to travel on the road. How do you like them in this spot?
Well, LSU's been involved in 2 straight crazy finishes. They're up 7 against Texas Tech with not much time left and end up losing by 5. Just a disaster. A 12-0 wrong way run. The prior game, they scored the last 18 points of the game to beat Texas A&M by 12. So that's not exactly an impressive win because A&M's not very good. They lose badly to Kentucky. They lose badly to Alabama. They barely got past South Carolina at home. That's 6 games that aren't very good for LSU. And again, one of those was against Alabama, and they get beat by 30. The loss Saturday by Alabama really didn't mean anything to me. The market loved Alabama in the game because of the Oklahoma injuries. But I mentioned when we talked about the game on the Friday show last week, I said, boy, this is a tricky spot because they're unbeaten in the SEC. It's not like they need the game. Oklahoma needed it more. Going on the road for a non-conference game, and I thought, this might not be the best spot for Alabama. So I stayed out of the game. I didn't play Oklahoma because of how short-handed they were, but Oklahoma definitely outworked Alabama in that game. I think Alabama gets their energy back here, and LSU is not going to defend them because they just aren't very good defensively. So it looks like a spot to me where Alabama bounces back. You'll have to pay for it in the price, right, but I think the tide of the right side.
Yeah, the total keeps going up, Matt. 162. I'm seeing 164 is now. Alabama, we know how good a three-point shooting team they are. LSU, one of the worst in the SEC here. You look at this game from a total perspective or a side perspective at this point?
I mean, I played the first half over in the first meeting between these two. It hit easily. I mean, Alabama scored 60 points in that game. John Petty, I think his first 6 shots all went in. They were all threes. It was ridiculous. It was amazing to watch. And it was a 60-32 halftime score. And so that kind of skewers the whole, 105-75. It's because they put up 60 in the first half. The question is with Alabama, the last 2 games, they haven't shot very well. Now, look, you look at the defensive opponents. I mean, Kentucky's good defensively. And then Oklahoma, as Dave talked about, was a potential flat spot there. So, I guess if you're looking at the over, which I'm not, you're assuming that Alabama's all of a sudden going to find their shooting stroke and they're going to figure things out here. I mean, they're shooting 41% in conference play from long range, and they're playing good defense. So to me, once again, I mean, if you think Alabama is going to do their part here, I'm kind of opening myself up more to the team total side of things. If you like Alabama here, I don't know if LSU's offense, how much they're going to get going in this game. I think Alabama could score a ton and still this game go under. So you could either take the under or take the over for the Alabama team total because I think that they are going to score a bunch of points offensively.
Should be entertaining. That is for sure here, guys. We got one more game we're going to touch base on. VCU and Rhode Island. Then we'll have our best bets and, of course, take a look what our friends at the Gold Sheet have in store for us here tonight. But let's look at this VCU Rhode Island game. VCU lost the first matchup earlier this year, I think by 15, if I wasn't mistaken, in that game. And now they find themselves at home. VCU without, I believe, their number 2 or 3 scorer, Curry, there is not, or at least not yet. I don't think he's going to be playing tonight. It's a tough spot for them. Rhode Island opens up as a point favorite, Dave, taking on this VCU total right around that 136 and a half mark. At this point in the season, which one of these teams do you have more confidence in?
Well, they're not 1-point favorites anymore because VCU's taking all the money here.
Yep.
And they've gone to 2.5. VCU's in better form. They had the bad game against St. Bonaventure, but outside of that, they've looked good lately. And that St. Bonaventure game was just bizarre. because VCU was up 15 at the half and got outscored 45-14 in the second half, which is almost unbelievable. But they bounced back from that with a good win against Dayton, beat them by 23, took care of business against LaSalle. I think they're the more talented team. Rhode Island is not the most consistent crew out there. They can be pretty good or pretty bad. I have a tendency to think VCU, with the revenge motive, in better form right now. I think VCU does get him, but this is like the game I mentioned earlier. You've lost the value. You got to lay 2.5 with the Commodores now, and whatever they are, they're not the Commodores. With the Rams.
The Rams.
Rams, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think VCU wins, but I'm not going to lay 2.5.
Dave talked about, Matt, the line moved up a little bit, obviously, taking all the money one way, but the total, too, seemed a little bit low at that 136. That now is up to 140 in some places. Both these teams scored, I think, 151 points the first time they played. So how are you approaching this game?
Well, I mean, if you look the last couple of years, they've played one high-scoring game, they've played one low-scoring game. And so, to me, it feels like it's a rock fight type of situation here in Rhode Island. I mean, the whole thing depends upon Fats Russell. I mean, Fats Russell's day-to-day. He did a little bit in practice yesterday. They don't know if he's going to play. The line kind of tells me that he's not playing because there's no reason to bet on – I would say there's no reason to bet on VCU if Fats Russell's healthy. He's the guy who stirs the drink, and he does so much for this team when it comes to facing a Havoc-like style against VCU. That last game, they had 19 turnovers. Only 2 of them came from Fats Russell. He had 23 points. He got to the line a bunch, and that was at the Siegel Center. People don't necessarily get to the line a ton at the Siegel Center. So to me, this line's telling me that Fats Russell's not playing tonight. I almost think if it keeps going up even a little bit more, there's value on Rhode Island. Rhode Island's size is better than VCU's size. There is some decent players on in terms of the backcourt if Fats doesn't play. I'd like it a lot if Fats Russell plays. But if he doesn't and this line keeps going up, I think there's value in the home dog in this one. They just have VCU's number and match up pretty well against Havoc.
Yeah, and one thing I'll mention quickly is that, I mean, he did play the last game, but he was bad. I mean, it was a terrible game for Fats Russell. So he certainly isn't 100%, even if he is out there tonight.
All right. And, Tony, where are you approaching this, man, when you go to this game here tonight? Total, side, how are you approaching it?
Well, Joe, I'm not a doctor, but I play one as a handicapper all the time, and I think we all do. You have to project all these injuries. Sometimes it comes back to bite you. Look at Isaiah Wong in Miami today. Looked at that ankle sprain a couple days prior to that, prior to the Duke game, said, no way he's playing. He comes out, dominates the game, and Miami upsets Duke. So will Fats Russell play? Who knows? It was him and Shepard that dominated the first meeting between these teams. VCU actually says that Kashawn Carey will probably play in this game, and Levi Stockard is scheduled to come off a concussion protocol, so they'll be closer to full strength. But Rhode Island has had VCU's number over the last 10 meetings. They've won 9 of them. I think Bones Highland is going to have a pretty solid game, regardless of who plays or not, because he did in the first meeting. We'll see if he gets enough help. My lean to this would be the under, simply because you want to fade Russell whether he plays or not, and if he does play, that he's not at 100%. And again, because Rhodey fundamentally is more of a defensive team, if Russell isn't able to probe and get other guys going, then maybe at home that's where they find their comfort zone to try to steal a win. And other injury news that I skipped over in my LSU Bama breakdown: Darius Day's out weeks after suffering that injury late in the meltdown, so he won't be a part of Alabama LSU tonight.
Yeah, that was actually a big part of that 12-0 run there at the end of that at that game there. All right, guys, good stuff here. 4 games, of course. Time for our best bets here that we want to get you guys caught up on, including our friends at the Gold Sheets, who have a play up today. And look at this, my alma mater here, OSU, Oklahoma State, taking on TCU. Now, Tony Mejia, might this be something that was by your pen?
I might recognize that.
Okay.
Well, look, I think that this is a situation where Cade Cunningham did the right thing as the great #1 top prospect in all of college basketball. You come back, your teammates have done the heavy lifting with you sidelined, and you say, "I'm going to come off the bench." Yep. That really helps out the entire group. And you really like the way they responded without him. They shared the basketball. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin with the other long name, escapes me right now, played fantastic basketball. While he was out, I think he'll be a really nice piece going forward for Oklahoma State. TCU, unless Nemhard's having a hot night, really doesn't bring much to the table. So you have to hope that the Cowboys really find their footing early in the contest, so they're not playing from behind. But the number's manageable. I think Oklahoma State covers easily.
All right, OSU tonight. Take the Cowboys, according to our friends at the Gold Sheet, courtesy of your Tony Mejia right here and now. So let's do it, guys. Let's start with the best bets here around the horn. And Dave Koken, and again, a reminder, guys, Dave's best bets, free plays up at his page right now. Check it out at WagerTalk.com. Dave, where are you taking us tonight?
Yeah, one other thing in that Oklahoma State-TCU game, first meeting, Oklahoma State led the game 76-68 with 2 minutes and change to go.
Ugh.
And TCU scored the last 9 points to get a 1-point win. So that's one of those revenge games that I think does fit. I'm going to go with kind of a gut feel spot here. It's the South Carolina-Florida game. Florida's clearly the better basketball team, but this is a spot where they might just relax a little bit. South Carolina's not much of an opponent this year. They're off. Florida's off a really good win in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, winning at Morgantown against West Virginia. That was a real battle. They've got LSU and Tennessee coming up on the road in the next 2 games. I think this is a tricky spot, and it has not been a good year for South Carolina, but Frank Martin's team's battle. They're off 2 really strange games. A bad game against Vanderbilt, preceded by their best game of the year against Georgia. The ticket count here is going to be heavy on Florida. Line isn't moving. In fact, it's moved down a half point. Got a feeling South Carolina is going to sneak away a cover, maybe an outright in this one. South Carolina plus the 8.5.
Yeah, Florida also, it's been interesting to watch them over the last couple of games as well. They seem to do really well in the second half. Now, it takes them a little while to get going, and then the second half, they turn it up, and it's a whole different ball game there. Tony, where are you looking here tonight on your card?
We are off to the SoCon,
Ooh.
where Western Carolina is favored by 1.5, 2 points. I don't see Kevin Martin coming through that door. And they failed to cover 5 in a row. I've watched them play. I like to watch those SoCon games on ESPN Plus, walk around with my tablet. It's a hobby of mine. Love that conference because it's wacky. And look, David John Baptiste of Chattanooga, he put his name in the transfer protocol. Then I don't know if he was wanting to go back to Miami or something didn't work out, but he ended up pulling it back out. He rejoined the team. He and Malachi Smith formed one of the top backcourts in the SoCon, and I really think that they'll be able to get going. They're off a 10-day layoff. Hopefully they've gotten their act together or what they want to do to move forward because that team is too talented not to compete in that conference. Give me Chattanooga going into Western Carolina and pulling out a win. They're a 1.5, 2-point underdog.
Chattanooga, love it. All right, mid-major Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com is where you can get him. Talk to us. Best bet, my friend.
Glad to know I'm not the only one watching SoCon games because, I've been watching from Western Carolina. I'm glad to know that Tony and I are the only 2 in America doing that. If we didn't do the Creighton game today, I feel like every Wednesday we're doing the Creighton game, and I say the same thing. So since we didn't do the Creighton game, I'm just going to say what I usually say. I'm taking the first half over in Omaha. This is you've got a Creighton team that's averaging 42 points in the first half at home. They're going up against a Georgetown team that's not terrible in the first half. They average 35 points for the first half. Defensively, they allow 38 points on the road in the first half, and Creighton's defense hasn't been great lately. Last year, these halftime scores were 37-36 in D.C. and 48-33 in Omaha. And another stat that will help me, especially towards the pace, is 36.6% of the Georgetown's shots have come in transition. That's 8th most in college basketball. Creighton's is around 34%. So I see some pace in this game. It's a manageable number. It's 71. So you know me, I'm going first half over in Omaha. Georgetown Creighton over 71 points in the first half.
I love that. Was shocked. I could have told you that was coming one way or the other. The game that I circled, guys, that I'm looking at here, and I think it keeps going the other way. I get it. Villanova, pretty good team, number 3 team in the country. But are they 12 points better than St. John's? I don't think so right now. This isn't at the Garden. This is actually in Queens at Carnesecca Arena. I think they get Greg Williams back tonight, too, as well for St. John's. This team has been rolling, a much better team as of late, so I think there's too much value to avoid it. Give me those 12 points against Villanova tonight in that matchup. And once again, guys, a quick recap here of the best bets as you can take a look. And don't forget, of course, as you guys head over to WagerTalk.com for Tony and Dave. Don't forget about Mid-Major Matt at SportsMemo.com. Their best bets are up and ready to go. Here's the recap. Take a look, guys. Matt Joseph, shocker. Creighton first half over 71 against Georgetown. Dave's going, give me Carolina 8.5. I'm going to go with, Tony Mejia going with Chattanooga at +2. I'm going to take the points in St. John's, and our friends at the Gold Sheet laying that 4.5 with Oklahoma State in that game. So, guys, thank you very much for stopping by, hanging out with us here today as we look to keep it rolling. Don't forget, head over to WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Lock in your 3, 7, 30-day all-access packages with these guys. Never miss a play. On behalf of Tony Mejia, Dave Koken, Mid-Major Matt Josephs, I'm Raineri. Guys, hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Hit the subscribe button. You've got the NBA Tip-Off Show coming your way in just about an hour. Bet on it. Also, we'll be up and ready to rock and roll Super Bowl edition. So plenty of content here on the Wager Talk channel, but more importantly, make it a profitable night in college hoops. Come back and join us again tomorrow. Thanks for making us a part of your day, guys. We'll see you then.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.